So, how many people have been to anything I've done? Any of my teaching? Yeah. And who has not? All right. Cool. Welcome. Yeah. Hope you enjoy yourself. Yeah. So, one of the reasons you're here is because of Jesus Christ. Yeah. You have an affiliation with Jesus Christ, or you have an affiliation with Christianity, or Buddhism, or Hinduism, yeah, even Judaism, yeah, even a Muslim. Whatever part of spirituality you played, that's your yoga. It's yoga. Yeah, you can name it what you want when you're incarnated. There's a lot of fools out there. They name a lot of things, and you follow along, and you remember that shit, you know. And that's really hard for you. It's very difficult because you have to unlearn it. You have to unlearn everything about Krishna. You have to unlearn everything about Buddha. You have to unlearn everything about Jesus. Yeah. Buddhists say, you go to the top guy, yeah, and you go, oh, Dalai Lama, where's the Buddha? You know, isn't Buddha reincarnation? Isn't that it? And he goes, no. Buddha doesn't reincarnate. Yeah. And this is actually Tsongkhapa doesn't reincarnate. Padmasambhava doesn't reincarnate. Buddha doesn't reincarnate. You know, so what's the sense of joining Buddhism? You know, isn't this helping us in our process of life? You know, and that's fine as long as you don't mention reincarnation. Yeah, if you mention reincarnation, you're dead in the water with the Dalai Lama. Yeah, he doesn't like even the tukus, who are masters, who are reincarnating and recognized by fellow tukus. He thinks there's too many. Yeah, too many. Yeah. And he doesn't believe the Buddha reincarnates. And he doesn't believe that Jesus was Buddha. And he doesn't believe that Padmasambhava reincarnates, or that he was Milarepa in the future incarnation. Yeah. He doesn't believe, yeah, even though it's in the teaching. If you read the teaching of Tsongkhapa, he would see Tsongkhapa says, wow, many of my lives, you know, I go all the way back to Manjushri. You know, I was Manjushri. Yeah. And then he goes, but how do I get anybody to understand that? It's his own self-awareness. Yeah. And he goes, and I was Gautama Buddha. That's a weird thing. So how do I get that to be understood? And I'm going to be the future Buddha, Maitreya. That's a weird thing. And all this is in his teaching, if you take the time to read it. Yeah. And you'd find that, you know, he was a Christian. He was born in a Christian town. Kind of weird, you know. And he was found by the highest Lama in Tibetan Buddhism, the Karmapa. Yeah, and he was anointed by the Karmapa, made into the Tuku, Tsongkhapa. Yeah. And he was furthered that way. So all the Tukus all further each other. They remember each other from being the student of Buddha. In previous lives, whether it was with Padmasambhava or Milarepa or other lives, you know, they have names that are different than the ones of their previous lives. That's confusing. That's confusing. Yeah. So I illustrated a process in Tibetan Buddhism to where we help the person keep the same name as a title. The name of their first incarnation of recognition is a tuku, like Karmapa. Yeah? So we say, this is the 16th Karmapa, the 15th, 14th, and he still comes with the name, Dorje something, you know? But it's still the same person reincarnating. Yeah? And if you study it that way, if you follow it that way, if you come to meet these people this way, you know, then you come to realize, you know, that they're right up against hell. You know, they got everything against them. Every possible thing you would have ever imagined is against these people, and yet they're the masters. And you would think, well, masters, they got it wielded, you know, their power over elements, their power over things. Wow, they even materialize food. According to the New Age belief system, masters materialize food. They materialize shit. No, they live in poverty. They have hardship. They die of diseases. You know? They die of a lack of food. They die of lack of love. They die due to normal life, because they can't recapitulate. And in my life, my job was to help all of these masters or saints be found in every life and support them in their reincarnation. So that happened here in Glastonbury. There's an abbey right here. And that abbey was established by me. My uncle paid for it. We took about 100 miles going from this center point out in a circle. And we received that land. And we purchased that land. And then after I had died on a cross, and blood was put into a chalice and brought back by Joseph of Arimathea, I asked him if he would build 12 huts, grass huts, and build a center hut, and put the chalice in the center hut. And that would represent me, my life, and my presence on earth. And the others would represent the 12 disciples. Each one represented their clothes, their name, their signature. Everything was put there by Joseph from all 12 disciples. So they were represented from the life cycle, the life cycle of Jesus. This was his life cycle. And that went into the first church of Christ, right here in Glastonbury, establishing tukus. So what did the church do? The church had many rooms, thousands of rooms. And in each one of those rooms was where tukus who died or were dying brought their clothes, their blankets, their spoon, their bowls. And the representative here would take it and recognize them as a tuku to Jesus the Christ. And they spoke with Jesus. They saw Jesus. They were reverent in relationship to Jesus. They were in the Sangha. They were really, truly monks and nuns. And when they died, they came to this place to offer their life into reincarnation. So Christianity was based on reincarnation. All the saints of Christian life was based on reincarnation in this one church. Not in Rome, where they hung me on a cross, not where they do a lot of bad things throughout the entire planet, but in one sacred zone, a sacred zone, Glastonbury. So Glastonbury was made a sacred site, and it was made central zone of time, a 0 point. So if you look at it, this happens to be an auspicious, strange place. There's Greenwich Village time, there's this time, there's mountain time, there's Pacific time, and then there's 0 time. And that's Glastonbury. So it's a phenomenon that we have here, that has to do with not only time, but the first church of Christ. Not in Rome, not in San Bernardino, not in Japan, not any place else, but here. It's not in Israel. It's not a great big temple that needs to be rebuilt or anything. It's actually still sitting here. The actual spot where I said to build my church, still sitting here. That's rare. That's rare. Even though it was torn down, even though the last priest who was responsible for this was made into a heretic, was killed, and hung upside down at the Tour and died. Simply because he was my agent, representing this church. And this church represented Archangel Michael. The relationship to archangels. It wasn't just Jesus Christ. It was an open door to angelic relationships, to the earth. And every saint was taking on angelic Davidic qualities that would no longer ever become glamours. They wouldn't be vices, they'd be virtues. And they'd be elemental energies that would be inside of human beings as a Davidic energy. And it was to counteract the coming of the Antichrist, which is the diva. The diva. Now in Glastonbury is where the head of all divas live. They're all over the place. They're everywhere. There's one witch here, there's another witch there, there's a warlock here and a warlock there. This is Diva City. This is downtown hell. Really, it is. You can sweep the streets and all you will get is the ashes of hell. Every day, people breathe out of their lungs hell. Their eyes permeate everything with doubt and suspicion and quagmires. Imperiling everything. Everything. You even got to drive on the wrong side of the road. And you got to drive in these little tiny roads, little thin roads that great big trucks like to drive onto. No one says, no trucks on that road. Like that would make sense. But this is chaos, just chaos. This is the city of glamour. City of glamour. This is the place where everybody makes up everything. We have fake kings, King Arthur, we have the Grail, we have everything from a one story that is a true story of Jesus the Christ to multiple stories of bullshit that surround Jesus the Christ into fantasyhood, into fairyland, into a quagmire of bullshit where witches and warlocks can walk around and tell stories that you will believe. Yeah? You believe King Arthur once lived here with a sword and stuck it in a stone. Come on, really? Really? What are you, from Darth Vader's crew? I mean, this is fantasy land, people. Delusions and illusions is where you're at. Delusions and illusions. Disrespect and irreverence. Many, many lives of disrespect and irreverence. And it's not your own. It's the false prophets. It's your king. It's your queen. What's the lowest level of a human being on earth? A king. A king. According to heaven, it's the lowest level of a human being on earth is a king or a queen. Because they see themselves above everybody else. And they have to be a demon to do this. They can't be human. They have to have many levels. There are 7 levels of hell. On the 7th level of hell is where the kings sit. People don't like that shit. Because demons exist, and they're all going to die. All of you die. And all the demons are dying today. And guess what? They're not asked to come back. Because Satan is one who's dying. I made him incarnate. And once he incarnates, he's mortal. And he has to leave his body, just like everybody else. And when that happens, you have a fresh, clear slate. You can breathe freely. Because you don't know Jesus Christ, you don't even know Satan. And you can, and in truth, one is ruling you. One of them. And it's not one, it's the other. So ignorance just isn't your guide. Being ignorant to Satan isn't going to make you free to be with Jesus. Being aware of Satan is going to make you free to be with Jesus. You've got to see the demons go down. You got to know the vices that are being cleansed from this planet. Why is Trump? Why was he made president? How is it possible he was made president? Made president because I'm here. He is who he is. He's the Antichrist. And he's incarnated. And he's busted. And it's way beyond everybody. Because they're all just going, well, but he's a part of the Kardashians and Michael Jackson's best friend. I mean, even Diana ain't going out with him. I mean, I don't understand what you're talking about. How is this possible? Where I come from, trust me, it's all possible. But it's not really clear for people to see or to understand. Because it's corruption. The influence of everything that's involved in humanity has been corrupted. All the way from Adam and Eve, all the way from, even if you study Krishna, after the death of Krishna, everything was corrupted. Krishna died with arrows in his body. He died, bleeding to death. Arrows in his body. Bleeding to death. You would think the greatest teacher on earth, the highest living master, the most loving guy, had so many friends, but he didn't. He didn't, because he kept saying he was the planetary logos. He kept saying he was the Lord. He kept saying, you must repent. You must accept God. You must understand that demons exist. They're in that lake over there. They're in those rocks right there. He went around ever since as a baby, pointing out demons and fighting them till the day he died. Yeah? And yet nobody saw it. They just go, oh, I didn't see that. I didn't notice it. He was the only one. Yeah? But in history, we could see it. We can read it. Better understand it a bit. But what you'll understand is that no one recognized Krishna while he was alive. And yet, you're under the delusion he was very well understood and very well recognized. And everybody prays him, Hare Krishna, right? All those Hindis, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Where were they during the time of Krishna? They weren't saying Hare Krishna, let me tell you that. And Buddha, what was his scenario? He had to leave every day his location because people wanted him dead. His own students were fighting off whether or not they should slit his neck at night because they had previous gurus, previous yogis that told them other truths that weren't the truth at all. And those were glamours. And they got to believe them. And they got really idealistic about them. And every time Buddha would sit down and receive the light and begin expressing the light, they would start tripping. And they would, by nighttime, they'd want to kill him. So every day, every night, he'd have to go through this process. And if you really read the teachings of Buddha, not the Dalai Lama's teachings of Buddha or anybody else's, but read his teachings, he would tell you just how horrifying his life was. And what it was like for him to take on the impurities of everybody around him. And how he was constantly attacked and constantly betrayed. But that didn't change him because he was enlightened. So he could see the view, he could understand what was going on. But how we perceive, how we interpret who Buddha was, and why it is we're not Buddhists. We're not Buddhists because his students weren't Buddhist. And the people after Buddha weren't Buddhist. They were false prophets. They took the power of Buddha, they took the name of Buddha and declared themselves this. And created all these Buddhist religions. Tao, Zen, Mao, Wao, Zhao, Gao. You name it. Where's Buddha in any of it? When Buddha reincarnates. Buddha reincarnates all the time. I'm sitting right here. This is my first time. I wouldn't be knowing all this shit if this is my first time. Yeah. When I was 9 years old, Tibetans came to my house, because this is how hard this is. You don't get incarnated in a scenario to where you're going to be recognized. You just get incarnated. And then the masters who you come from are wise enough and still alive. They're receiving dreams of you being born as a child. Seeing the house that you're born in and the address and the names of your parents and your brother and your sister. They see it every day, every year, over and over and over. By the time I'm 9 years old, they got plane tickets. They're at my house knocking on my door. They've learned English and I had to talk to my parents and try and explain it to them. What did they get? They were told that they were insane. They were told that they were mad people wanting to kidnap their son and abduct him, steal him from a house. Who do they think they are? Who are Tibetans anyway? We don't even know the country, never heard of it. My parents were so mean, so hostile, so aggressive, they threw him out of the house twice in one day. And then never told me about it, never told me a word. My brother was the only one who witnessed it. He sat in the living room, he sat in the hallway listening to their prayers and their preaching to my parents and telling them that I was Krishna, telling them that I was Jesus Christ, telling them that I have all these previous incarnations and I cannot go to school. I cannot be left in society. I cannot. It would not be good for society. It would be very bad for society. And it'd be very bad for the outcome of my timing, how I would externalize. So their plan was to take me back to Nepal when I was 9 years old. That was in 1960. Imagine, 1960. At that time, I would have gotten to meet Kennedy. I would have gotten to meet everybody who was everybody. All the people who were interested in doing something great in this world, they would have the child Jesus Christ, born, reincarnated. Everybody's looking for it. Hey, where's Jesus, Well, here he came. But what happened to Jesus when he was born back then? Same thing. The masters come to my house right after I was born, saw me in the same way, walked up to my parents and said, hey, he cannot stay with you. He must come with us. But you don't see this in the Bible. You don't hear this in the Bible. No one ever talks about this. But if you study the other lives, Krishna and Buddha, masters came and said, he must come with us. And in my life, they said that. Oh, he must come with us. You don't think that didn't happen to Jesus? It did. But his parents said, nah, he's mine. That's my child. That's my son. I'm not giving him up to you. Even though an angel came to her and said, this is not your child. This is not your husband's child. This is God's son. And you need to do the right thing after he's born. That was said. You read that in the Bible. But she didn't do it. She didn't do it. So for all those years, they put Jesus through a process of guilt. As though it was because of him all those little boys died. Although it was because of him they were without a home and had to live in Egypt. And because of him, he wasn't able to go out into the public and talk to people, go into church or study. Because he was Jesus. He was too bright. He would be recognized. And they're not afraid for me. They're afraid for themselves. If they had let me go, all would have been well. It would have been perfectly well. I would have been taken into the Indian area, into India, and up into the upper regions near Tibet, to a place called Ladakh, where there was a monastery waiting for me, for Jesus. And I made it there. I made it there after I died. And everybody thinks, wow, you died, And died on a cross, went into a cave, dead on a doornail, resurrected, And since you're supernatural and you're never going to come back, we had to make up a story that you levitated into the sky and we never saw you again. You all believe that, right? Piece of shit. That's the biggest whopper I've ever heard. It didn't go down that way. It went down by me coming out, walking around, and people not recognizing me. My own disciples didn't recognize me because they had so much doubt over the fact that I would resurrect. Resurrect. It's not a matter of coming back from being dead. It's a matter of completely rebuilding the body. Rebuilding the body. Restoring it in infinity. Where light comes together and time comes together, and you get to a place where there's a ring past knot, and time becomes infinite. And there's no gravity, there's nothing. And that's what happened inside that cave. That's how there became, my image on a shroud. And that's how it's 3D when you look at it. And you can look at it in a holographic way, and you'll see my entire body. And that's not possible if you lay a shroud on top of somebody. It gets all wrinkled, and this is there, and that's there. But this is a reflective image, directly, a holographic image, from my backside and my front side onto a shroud, which meant that I had to have been levitating, and the shroud had to be levitating, not touching my body, but being radiated upon. during this experience of me being regenerated, restored. Yeah? And there was no rock there. Yeah? As far as I was aware, there was no rock. I just walked out. Walked out, said hi, scared the shit out of people. You know? What's the matter? You don't recognize me? Yeah, but you're dead. No, I'm not. Obviously. You know? I look better than ever. You know? What are you talking about? I regenerate. You don't, but I do. There's a difference between me and you. Big difference. Yeah? And that regenerative life is a tree of life. Yeah? That's the influence of Jesus the Christ. It's life. Life. How did I give life back to Lazarus? How did I raise the dead? How did I do any of that? It's life. Yeah? It's what pours through me. Yeah? It's what is me. Yeah? But that, imagine, you know, you're told by bullshit artists that the Lord does not reincarnate. Nor do you. You just die, go into dead zone. You know, meet your dog when you're dead. You know, go to some place where your dog's at, you know, and you're hanging out with grandpa. You know, this la-la land, as though there is such a thing. Yeah? There is in the desire body. There is an astral desire body. We all have it. We can talk to each other, we can communicate with each other, even when the person's not here, even when they're dead. It's an astral desire body. Yeah? And it leads to the astral influence of that being. And it's the worst thing that we could ever do, is try and talk to the dead and use the astral desire body to conjure relationships with the dead and try and figure out what happens after we die. Yeah? What happens after we die is that we reincarnate. Period. Period. And once we get this straight, we can move on with science. We can move on with life. You can take a pledge of allegiance with God, thanking God for the miracle of life. Your resurrection, just like mine. You get the same thing. We all do. We all do. Nothing special here. Yeah? Even though you hear about it for Krishna, you hear about it for Buddha, you hear about it for Jesus. Well, what about you? Yeah? It's in all of you. You all reincarnate. You all reincarnate. Yeah? But the problem is that you reincarnate in different levels. Yeah? If you live in this life, and you live out your life with impurities being hate and anger and suspicion and jealousy and enviousness, beating your wife, you know, trading shit, you know, for no gain whatsoever, just because you can, you know, getting away with everything just because you can, you know, taking a chance, you know, terms like luck and bad luck and things like that seep into your life, you know, and you start thinking that's what life is, luck, bad luck, you know. Or maybe it's the astrology, you know, I'm a Capricorn, you're a Libra, we can't hang, you know, bad luck. You know, I'm telling you, the diversity, it's amazing. What a science. You know, you're all in hell under those conditions, thinking you're going to figure this thing out. Yeah? One thing you do know, the only thing you do know is that you don't know. And you will always be there. You will never know. That's what life is. Life is absolutely unknown. Yeah? Life is an adventure. Life is an insight. Yeah? If we calm down, if we stay calm, if we are at peace, if we are at peace with other people and condition their life to make their life better, like empathy, compassion, yeah, outwardly doing something to help another person. Anytime we do any of that, it changes the orientation of vibration in us. Yeah? And that vibration alone, is what we carry with us from one life to the next. We don't carry our eyeballs, our good looks, you know? We don't. Yeah, you've all from England, so you know Doctor Who. It's like that. Then you come back and you go, holy shit, what's that about? Where'd I get that nose, I still like the clothes, but holy moly, the face has got to go. We all have to adapt, because we're not exactly the same person. We're not the same person, but we are. If we stay calm. If we stay calm, the person that we are is our monad. Our monad, our place with God. When we're with God, which is a third party, a whole other being, If you take relationship to God and know that it's not about luck, it's not about unluckiness, it's about blessings, it's about receiving God's love, redemption. It's about you repenting and God giving you grace. It begins to add up if you think in these ways. If you add yourself into God's reality, that you are part of God's reality, and slowly but surely you release a veil. And this takes quite a while. There are many initiations in the process of life that gets us to a point to where we can stay calm enough to where we can relate to reincarnating. But until then, death is going to be our worst enemy. We're going to be tripped out over death from the moment we wake up, the moment we have life. We're going, oh no, I'm getting in a car, I'm going to die in an accident. Oh no, virus is going to get me. Oh no, cancer is going to get me. Oh no, diabetes is going to get me. Oh no. And all these things that mainly take people is lifestyle. And our lifestyles are based on our vices. And we're illusions and our delusions. And our habits. And they come from our past lives. Even our fears. When we were beaten to death for maybe doing something wrong or maybe not doing something wrong. But we died and we were beat to death. And that was a hard way to die. And when you come back with a little bruise over here, it never goes away. And that's the place where you died, And you have psychological PTSD-like shit that goes on. And that's every time they hit you, every time they choked you, until the moment you die. And those things come back. They reverberate in your consciousness because you do not believe in reincarnation. So you're not going to solve your past life death. You're not going to solve it before you die. So you're going to have these fears. You're going to have these innate lower qualities pulling you down. Insecurity, fear, all those different things. And it's the vibration, the energy that comes from God. The grace that cleanses those things. Yeah, I bet every one of you has got an etheric weaver or a vajra or a pendant of some kind, or been in soul therapy. And when you go in there, you receive grace. Nothing else is going on. All you're getting is me doing puja, which is I'm just invoking God, talking with God, illuminating you about God, and speaking in the terms of how God works. Because it's a science. It's all a science. If we cooperate in the science of God, you'll become a master. That's better. That's better than where we're at now. Because right now, we got to think we have to vote people in to become politicians, and we got to accept the fact there's a king and queen, and we got to accept the fact that, I'm never going to be rich because I'm black, and all these weird-ass shit things that go on in our life today have to go away. They have to go away for you to be happy. For all of us to be happy. I'm not saying all of us have to become rich in order to become happy. All of us have to be happy, or this isn't right. And that happens through grace. Grace gives us the power, the ability for us to forgive, to let go. When you lose a loved one, someone you loved for 30 years, 40 years, a job you've had that you really loved, you really liked, and all of a sudden it doesn't exist anymore. Yeah? And you got to go home with a watch. That's it. That's your history. You know? Or your wife dies. And now you're alone. You know? Your house is empty. Your bed is empty. You know, every day is worse. You know, it's getting darker. Yeah? You're losing your vitality. Yeah? And it has everything to do with your preparation for life. Yeah? How much time have you spent meditating and cleansing and purifying? Because when you hit these moments will grab together as a great big lump and take you down. Because it's weight. The influence of your vices, never having been healed, and all of a sudden you lose your loved one. You have no strength whatsoever to pull you out of that. Your vices are still there, you're still weak, you never took care of them. And now you need your heart. You need strength, you need courage, and that's in your heart. And every time you would choose, I'm not going to drink anymore. I'm not going to gamble anymore. I'm not going to lie to my wife anymore. I'm not going to flirt with other women or other men anymore. I'm not. I'm simply not. And then you don't. And you're surprised. And you couldn't stop it. But simply because you brought it to your mind and you make that kind of commitment, you're speaking in the terms of the third party. You're a saint in the future, and you are giving yourself a blessing. Yeah? Your higher self is making this decision. Yeah? And you will evolve into that higher self. You will become that person. But you're not going to become that person betraying the people you love. Never. Ever. There's no such thing as bad luck. There's no such thing as good luck. Yeah? All there is love or hate. That's it. You know, so in order for us to deal with Jesus Christ, in order for us to deal with what's going to happen with me being in this world, because a lot is going to happen with me being in this world, and no one's asking for it. No one asked for electric cars, but I brought them. No one asked for Apple computers, but I brought it. I personally created the Apple computer and all that you know in relationship to computers, personally. I spent time on the phone, I spent time as an engineer, I spent time going through every single phase of it, from video to audio to internet, until we got it working. Then I stepped back. Now we start on the electric car. Now we start on going back to space. Now we're going to not go to Mars, we're going to go to the moon. And we're going to do these things, and we're going to do a whole lot of other things. Yeah? That's what goes on in the process of Jesus the Christ. Jesus Christ is a scientist, an engineer, a master of all the rays. So I'm not sitting around as a religious figure. You know, even though I dress like this, you know, and I live in Tibet quite often, and I have all these monasteries, and I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people who pray and meditate in front of me in order to receive blessings. Yeah? And that's all an orientation to the opposite seat of the seventh initiation down at in hell, when you have a king, says they're king, well, you take the opposite side of that and you got a Buddha. Yeah? You take that same opposite side, instead of there being politicians and everything, you have saints. And it all takes away this capitalistic reality that we're living in. It all justifies capitalism. Everything that we're existing in justifies capitalism. And even in your mind, you go, wow, he can't be against capitalism. What is he, a communist? What is he, a socialist? What is that? Now, I'm not any of that. I'm just trying to tell you the truth. It's all going to go away. It's not supported by God. It's just not. You know? When the water goes up really high in Florida, there's not going to be Florida. And that's just the way it is. And you may complain and jump up and down. And in Italy, they may complain and jump up and down. Oh my God, you know, with all the water up to the third floor now, do we just tear down the buildings and give it a great big goodbye? Yeah, start over? Yes. Yes. Tear them down. Clean it out. Start over. Make everything new, lighter, sustainable, simple. Be ready, because it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. And that doesn't mean it gets worse for you. The earth goes through cycles. And we are in a really bad cycle. Yeah? There's going to be enormous earth upheaval. Droughts that we have right now. Floods that we have right now. Yeah? We have an enormous amount of processes toward what is right and wrong in North Korea or Russia or China. Yeah? And no one's got, how do we deal with this? Yeah? It's all just going to go away. In the end, it will turn to democracy, because that's the evolution of God. And that has nothing to do with America. It has to do with God. God is democracy. Democracy. That could take thousands of years to reach this state of consciousness where everybody honestly believes they love each other. We're brothers and sisters. We're democracy. That's what democracy is, brothers and sisters. Yeah? Has nothing to do with communism or capitalism or politicians or kings or queens. It has to do with happiness and living a really long life. Way beyond your wildest imagination. If you go back in time and study the time of Jesus the Christ and go back to where he inherited his life, which was Adam and Eve, you'll find that his family lives over 1,000 years. His family lives over 1,000 years. And the only reason they died before 1,000 years is because they were cursed. And they got to work that out. Even them, the good ones, they got to work that out. Imagine the Cain side. 50 years, 60 years, 80 years, 90 years. Bam, you're dead. Yeah. Where on the other side, you look at Adam, what is that, a crazy lie of an illusionary book of fantasy? He lived 978 years? What? That's impossible. Noah, 678. What? That's impossible. What? Every single member of the family lived 800, 900, 700, 600, 800. Yeah. So not 20 years, not 30 years. And they had kids when they were 600 years old. Yeah? Methuselah had Enoch when he was 640 years old. A kid. He was a kid. Yeah. You don't understand because you don't live it. You don't live it. You haven't had the opportunity to live yet. You've only had the opportunity to die. When you incarnate and you have such a short period of life, it's more death than it is life. And then you're a slave. You're a slave. You come into this system of capitalism and you're enslaved by the clergy or by your politician or by your king or your queen or the richer person in the neighborhood who owns the bank or the farm, and you've got to work for them. You're their slave. And they make a lot of money, and you make very little money. You're on the bottom of this triangle. You're down there. You're holding everything up, You don't get wages. No. You don't get a union. They'll fight against you on that, Human rights, nah. Yeah. Medicine, nah. You should be able to afford it. We do. We can. What are you talking about? Yeah. I mean, here, you're in England. You got medicine, but you still got problems, people. You still got big problems. Yeah. And they're going to change. I'm not eliciting a religion. I'm not eliciting a way of let's take it all back and let's, do something big. No, I'm saying Jesus Christ is on the earth and is changing your ass and doesn't care if you want to be changed. And that's a fact. That's a fact. I have no interest whatsoever of any individual. None. I'm here for the whole earth. And I will do only one thing, radiate light and tell you the truth. Yeah? And it'll be the truth from where I'm standing, not the truth from where you're sitting or anybody else is sitting. Yeah? I can see all that, I understand all that, and I can get you out of that. But the only thing that's going to change that is giving you a longer life. You need 200 years. You need 200 years. Yeah? And then you'll be calm. Yeah? Then you'll meditate, and then you'll go, okay, well, shit, if we get to retire at 50, and I live 200, I'm starting to think. I'm thinking either left side, negative. I'm thinking, damn, I'm going to be really ugly and old and decrepit and a cane for like at least 150 years. I won't have a job, I have no money, and no one will ever take care of me. You know, all those terrible thoughts come to you because that's the way it was. That's the way it was. Yeah? But that's not the way it's going to be. We're all tukus. Tukus love each other. Love each other. It's like family. Not today, not family today, but it will be like family. Yeah? What family means. Yeah? What marriage means. What a husband and a wife means. Yeah? All those things have purpose in heaven. They have purpose. And they're not little things. You don't just get married, just to be married. You're married to have children. For tukus. To bring tukus on earth. Because we're from heaven. And that's how we bring angels to earth. And that's what we do. Yeah? But God arranges before we incarnate all of that. Yeah? And we either have a strong belief system and orient ourselves to be the best cook, the best house cleaner, the best builder of a house, the best maintainer. By the time you're 18, 20 years old, you better know your shit. You shouldn't get married if you can't deliver the child as a man. If you can't be a midwife by the time you're 18 years old, what gives you the right to think you should get pregnant with a woman? What responsibilities will you hold? And that's not even in your mind. It's not even on the list of things that we should check off that we might want to do to become human. But we have to do these things. Men have to be midwives. Period. Period. Yeah. And that's a long road. Long road. Doctors won't like it. I was a midwife. I was a midwife until I was 33 years old. Yeah. Yeah. So it's not uncommon. I do it. I did it. Yeah. And you have to be a cook. You have to learn to cook. You have to learn to cook for yourself. You have to learn to cook for others. And it's not like you have to be the best baker in the world and make cookies and all that shit, because that's not what you do. Yeah? In heaven, we are a mono diet. In heaven, we have a mono diet. Yeah? We brought animals here for our diet. We brought plants for their diet, and other animals for the other animals' diets. And we brought everything breaking down for the trees and everything, and the insects, all of it in an ecosystem. Yeah? So our process is that we have wiped out the planet eating, just eating potato chips, corn chips, canned food, packaged food, produced food. We waste water, we destroy lakes, we destroy everything. We destroy cities. We use energy beyond belief, building industry, and that's all capitalism. They're capitalizing on the fact that you don't know what to eat. So they can give you shit, literally, shit, filled with sugar and spices and MSG and you name it, and get you addicted without you knowing it. And you just blatantly go through it. They started off as a child, They do not teach you to do nursing, They do not teach you to, do all the things you need to do to make sure that that child is being maintained in the right way, and that you yourself are being maintained in the right way. In the future, we're going to know of chakras. In the future, we're going to know that our glands are connected to chakras. In the future, we're going to use energetic medicine in order to connect the chakras to our glands and vibrate a harmonic resistance that goes back and forth so that anything that is not balancing between all the glands becomes harmonized. That's natural. That's medicines that we have today. All throughout Europe and Germany and Russia and China and other places in India, we have all those different types of energetic medicine, vibrational medicine. Yeah? And those are the things that we're going to put into play, because in order for us to heal ourselves, we need glandulars. We need glands. Yeah? And we don't do that. There's a lot of people out there who think that they're supposed to be vegans, vegetarians, live off the land, eat roots, eat herbs. And that really, it's nice, other than the fact that it's a lie. It's not real, because if you go back to our real truth, our history, and you go back to Aboriginal people who did live off the land, what did they eat? Yeah. Well, people who ate the roots died from poison and malnutrition. And the people who ate the animals lived and got stronger, and their brains got bigger, and they began to develop. Yeah. So we went from many different types of human beings to the one that we are today. And that's because we developed a lifestyle of hunter-gatherer. Yeah. Everybody developed that. Yeah. And we got smarter, we got wiser, we developed skills. And those skills reincarnated, recapitulated, and now we're building airplanes and technology and all kinds of things because of our hunter-gathering skills, our instincts, our intuitive qualities. Yeah? So we need less than what anybody can imagine. We need to eat a very small amount of food. Yeah? We need to eat at usual one meal a day, just one. 2 if you really need it, because you're hypoglycemic, you've got some problems. So you need to keep that going, 2 meals, fine and dandy. But that's all you need, And then it doesn't need to be grains or rice or any of that, It needs to be protein, but not high protein. It needs to be like grass-fed beef. If you take grass-fed beef and eat nose to tail, you'll get more vitamins, more nutrients than you'll ever get out of any diet you will ever be on in your life. And it will feed your chakras. Feed your chakras. Not make you into an animal, but make you spiritual. Yeah? It'll calm your brain down. It'll open up your thymus. It'll help your thymus heal. Yeah? Nearly everybody's thymus is dying. By the time you're 30 years old, your thymus goes dormant and starts growing fat. Yeah? By the time you're 40 years old, it is a round of fat, and there's hardly any thymus at all. By the time you're 60 years old, all there is a little nodule sitting there, and it's crystallized. By the time you're 70, it doesn't function at all, and that's what's causing you to die. You lose inspiration, interest in life. All of that is right there in your thymus. Yeah? If you're going to find a happy day, it's based on your thymus. T cells come from the thymus. T cells are known as regenerative cells that bring back cells to regenerate. Yeah? So it can actually knock out cancer. It can knock away all kinds of problems that you've got in your lungs and problems that you've had bad habits. But if you eat this way, you regenerate your body. Yeah? And you'll find your skin regenerates, your hair regrows, you lose gray hair. All these things start happening to you, and it's because you're eating a mono diet. Yeah? And you have no idea that you're allergic to beans, and you're allergic to rice, and you're allergic to 9/10 of what's out there. And that would make sense if you ever studied medicine. That all these things that come from plants, the plants are designed to be poisonous, to make it so that other animals don't eat it. Yeah? That it has little things, squirts out, and makes it really hard for anything to exist off it. So the flower grows, the plant continues living, and life goes on. It's built into it. Yeah? But we go, cut off a whole bunch, make a whole loaf of bread, take out all the nutrients, throw it in, have a cupcake, and wonder why, we're feeling the way we are, so lethargic and all. It's because of what we eat. And that's because it affects the chakras. It affects the glands. I could be teaching you yoga, I could be teaching you meditation, so I give you meditation in the form of the pushas. I give you tools in vibrational medicine so that you'll attune to your own soul. You'll attune to your soul because you're a healer. You're a healer, yeah? I'm kind of like the guru who comes to you when you're a kid and says, he doesn't belong here. Let him have these tools and leave him alone. Let him do his thing. Just see what happens. See what comes out of this kid. And you'll have the most brilliant, wonderful person you'll ever imagined. But it takes a long time because they got to get rid of past life orientation of mothers and fathers and aunts and uncles who thought that they were their mothers and fathers and aunts and uncles. And they put bullshit on you. Imagine being the father to some kid and you have a strange thing that you had to have played ball of some reason, and now your kid's got to play ball, or you're a girl and you wanted to be the purdy girl and now your kid's got to be the purdy girl, and it's just an extension of your lack of being loved. And it goes off into our expectations as though these are genetic globules coming out of us. There are our genes. This child is mine, comes from me, I made it. That's not true. It's not true. You forget the third party that made that child and incarnated that child. That's 99.9% of that child. The rest is your genes. And that's the mess up part. That's the part the kids got to clear up. Does that make sense? Yeah? So it's all done through vibrational medicine. It's all done through redemption. It's all done through healing. Yeah? And the process of diet, that main thing is the fact that we have a cleansing process that has to go on. We've got to release ourselves from fanaticism that leads us into, well, I want to be religious and I don't want to kill an animal because that would give me bad karma. That's what somebody says. Well, that's not what the Dalai Lama says, because he eats pork every day. So what's going on? What is it? You could do one thing and practice, but yet, you say you can't do that and do this. There is a great big deception in the process of what you need to do in order to be spiritual. And the main thing you need to do is discern and discriminate the difference between a false prophet and a real prophet, between the Christ and an antichrist. So by me coming out and establishing a lot of things that need to get going, and I've got those things going on the planet. I've got a lot of people wearing their iWatches. I've got a lot of people with iPhones. Got a lot of people buying electric cars. That's all me. That's all me. There's nobody else. That's all me. Yeah, I've got us going on to the moon. I got us in rockets rather than a nuclear bomb. That's me. I'm the alternative. Yeah, we are in two worlds. This is my world. This is capitalism over here. This has war in it. This has everything to take advantage of you, and you are the slaves. Yeah, but this one over here, this is a free future, to where you have a choice, to where you can live a life of 2, 3, 4, 500 years. You don't know how long you're going to live. If you do the things I say, which is meditate, eat light, Stay away from pollution, which includes people. People are the biggest polluting factor in your life. Get rid of them. Quote me on that. That'll go down well. Yeah? But it's true. I mean, you can't choose who your parents are. You can't quite often choose who it is you married. You know, because you're smitten, you know, you got shit going on and you just want it. You just want to do it, you know. And we make mistakes all the time. Don't imagine you're not going to make a mistake during that time. And we do. And then we get into the process and, you know, they're going, well, you know, he drinks a lot and smokes a lot and lies a lot and never is home and I'm not really sure what he's doing with his life. And, you know, I'd like to go out, but he won't let me because he doesn't trust me. I don't know why he doesn't trust me, you know, but I'm not supposed to not trust him. You know, what's going on? Is this right? Is this the way it's supposed to be? Shut up. Don't talk about it. Keep it down. Keep it down. You know, that's how it goes in life, you know. That's why so many women like to hang together and talk shit. Because who are they going to explain this to? This is a crazy world. And they're in a place to where there is no fix. There's no fix to this, you know? So what do we do? Change genders? Should I be a guy? Should I live in this world with a woman, but I don't want to be a woman, a gay woman with a gay woman, so maybe I should be a guy in order to fix that situation? Really, we're that crazy. We're trying to fix it from deep levels of insanity. If you don't believe society is mentally insane, mentally ill, physically ill, emotionally ill, you're really wrong. Really wrong. Big time. Big time. We all need to heal. There's no such thing as LGBTEFG. Yeah? There is no such thing. It is what it is. It does exist. We're dealing with it. But it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. So many things do not exist. Kings don't exist. Queens don't exist. You have to put a satanic energy under or in or around a king in order to get the king to stay a king. And for people to believe that that's a king. It comes from a wizard. It doesn't come from a king saying, I'm king. Everybody believe me. I'm king. And then they all go, oh, king, yes, king, absolutely king. No, it doesn't work that way. No. They're a bid for Satan. And through Satan, they get your Pledge of Allegiance. And you're insane. You have no reason behind it whatsoever. Only a utopian ideology that kings exist. And they serve a purpose. Like, what? Take all your money, all your gold, pay no taxes? What? Yeah, I know. I'm talking to England, but I'm talking to the whole world. Yeah? The whole world. You all have to deal with this reality that doesn't exist. Therefore, I'm going to get rid of it. It won't exist over the next 100 years. Now I reincarnate. And I'm 71, something like that, 71, yeah? And I reincarnate, yeah? And I don't know when I'm going to leave this body. Maybe 500, 600, 700 years. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe not. My last body was Babaji. I lived 2,500 years, so I don't know. If you want to shoot me, damn it, that's a bad thing. I die. Then I reincarnate, yeah? But if that doesn't happen, I live a long time. And so do you. You're committing suicide, people. Committing suicide. All of you. You're dying so early. At least 50 to 60 to 70 years. You should be in your youth when you're 70 years old. I'm 70 years old. I'm in my youth. Yeah? All of us should be this way. Yeah? There's no other way it should be. And we only receive that through the blessing of God, through Deva energy. Deva energy, elemental energy, thought form energy. If you think in the form of an angel, you can't think in the form of the devil. Greed and corruption and capitalism and hate and suspicion and separation of every kind. That's demonic. That's just what it is. And it gets into you, and you're not that. Yeah? But that's what all this is about, possession. Possessing objects, possessing people. It possessed you. Now you need to possess things, people, places, things. You need to own your home. Yeah? Really? Really? You need to own your home? Doesn't that bring you a bit of hardship? Really? Wouldn't you rather just have a home? Yeah? I mean, if we were in a place, and we will be in a place, to where we, imagine if you live 2, 3, 4, 500 years. Like right now, I built my place. My place, it is built to last 1,000 years. And people go, the man is full of shit. He says stuff like that. Last 1,000 years, how's that possible? Well, if you go to my place, you'll see that I built monolithic domes. Monolithic domes are designed to last 1,000 years. Yeah, they're this thick, they're domes, they're designed with really great design, and they last 1,000 years. You may have to put new windows in, you may have to maintain it, but the domes will last 1,000 years. And that's because I expect myself to live in that house for a long time. But you don't. You don't. You're willing to rent, you're willing to buy at an exorbitant price, no matter what the price, because of capitalism, you go, I'll pay a bit, and I'll get it back, and I'll move it forward, and all that, Holy shit, you're just in the middle of waste of time. All of energy is time. All of energy is time. Imagine, you only live 70 to 80 years. That's time. That's time. But that's also energy. That's your life. Your whole life. You're breathing, you're working. This is your life. All the energy you're putting into this life. But yet you only accumulated 80 years? And when you get to the end of it, you have dementia? And when you get halfway through it, you have diabetes and you lost your left foot? And you're going blind and you can't hear very well? And you exercised and you tried to eat right and you were a vegetarian for a long time and you still had diabetes. The largest number of people with diabetes are vegetarians. So that's not the path. You're going to die young. You're going to die suffering. And it's really a bad aging process is diabetes because you lose your kidneys. You lose everything. Yeah? So who wants to go that way? Not me. Yeah? But the key way to get through this thing is to better relearn this. Relearn it. Yeah? Don't go to the Dalai Lama or shit like that. Listen to what I got to say. I can take you through a historical reality of our life, that we live a long time. And you need that in your head. You need that in your head. And you'll get past this life. You may not live long. You may live your normal life cycle. But I will still be here. And you'll come back. And I will still be here. And even if I die, I will come right back. And within 9 years, my masters will find me, relocate me, and put me back in my job. Exactly as I am today. So you'll never notice I'm not here. From here on out, I am always here. This is an agreement I've made with all the Tibetan masters. We took aside the biggest, largest group of Tibetan masters and had them not agree with the Dalai Lama, but agree that Jesus the Christ is the head of Tibetan Buddhism. They agreed to that. And I said, now, how we do this is that we all reincarnate, right? They said, yes. And I said, even Buddha reincarnates, right? They said, yes. And I said, so let's go on with this. From here on out, that's the way we're going to do this. So that's our game plan. And we include all of humanity into that. We see all of humanity in that process. So it's not a separate process where different kinds of Buddhism has a different kind of belief system. My Buddhism, Maitreya Buddhism, has one belief system that closes the door on all the other astral belief systems that give you a short life, that put you into bad karma, that keeps you from recapitulating your merit. And it will allow you to come back to the loved ones that you established love with. And you continue reliving your lives. Imagine you die, your loved one dies, you're only 10 years apart. And you just keep coming back. What a movie, huh? What a movie. What a romantic movie. Well, that's God's plan. That's God's plan. Not capitalism. Not you as slaves digging gold and giving it to the rich. No, that's not God's plan, but that is your life. Your life should be finding the one you're supposed to be with, bringing the loved ones you want to bring into life that are part of all your friends and your family and your loved ones, and there are hundreds of thousands of them. Yeah? And we live a life to where this is our Sangha, this is us. We're there because we are illuminated through the tree of life. The tree of life is what Adam and Eve was involved in when they were to live immortally. Immortally. Not a time limit of 1,000 years. 1,000 years is part of the curse. Does that make sense? I know that sounds wacky. I mean, immortality, come on, wait a minute. If you reincarnate and you carry your soul from life to life, just like I do, then all my lives pour through me right here now, right this second. That makes me immortal. That's how life works. That's how the tree of life works. That's how God expresses us. You know, that we live within the tree of life, and we can sense immortality due to that. Not that we live an immortal life, but we do exist within immortal life. Jesus Christ and God gives us immortal life. Does that make sense? Hope you get it. Yeah? That's my meditation for today. Enjoy. Thank you for coming.